Issue 9. Character Influence on Dialogue. In almost any story, you have a couple of different character archetypes. You have an optimistic person, a smart person, a reluctant person, an animal with unusually high intelligence and a speech impediment. You know, the usual stuff. Each of these personalities influences the things the characters say and do. Their emotional preset makes it so that the reluctant person is never going to say, "Hey, let's go into the volcano," whereas the optimist will have already grabbed his titanium surfboard and charged ahead. But you probably know this already. The thing I wonder is if you ever considered why and how the characters got those distinct personalities. Which brings us to our first point. Dialogue begins in the past. If you want to give a character their own special voice, then you start by giving them their own special past. Each character has their own backstory, their own disasters and triumphs, families, things they love, things they hate. And these will influence their speech patterns. If a revolution caused a character to flee their country before they finish school, then perhaps they will speak rather simply, with fewer complex words, and perhaps they even have an insecurity over it. In contrast, perhaps the character grew up in a large house with very little social interaction, which made them cope by talking to themselves, thus creating a display of awkwardness in how they speak to other people, especially in large crowds. The interesting part about both of these examples, they highlight the character's reluctance to speech as much as their need to. Which leads me to point number 2. There's dialogue in silence. This sounds bizarre, I know, but one of the biggest differences between realistic and unrealistic dialogue is how verbose the characters are. People don't talk all the time. In fact, a quick way to show how familiar a group is with each other is simply to cut the dialogue. A new heist crew with strangers is going to spend a lot of time learning how to communicate with each other, where a group of veterans working together will probably be able to operate in near or total silence. Characters can do a lot with glares, shrugs, grunts, sniffs, and the immense power of raised eyebrows. It may seem strange at first, but consider body language as dialogue. Make it part of the conversation. And even beyond that, silence and stillness can speak volumes. Consider Steve, who has had it up to here with Martha and her rants about the closet, to the point where he basically ignores everything she says when she gets started up on it. Likewise, after the house burned down, maybe Martha is so wrapped up in her own grief that she can't acknowledge that there are people speaking to her. These characters are saying things even while they sit there, motionless. So when you think about dialogue, don't think of it just as spoken words. Think of it as all the ways a character can express their thoughts and emotions, through their past and through their hopes for the future. Because in the end, everyone wants to connect to each other in some way, and that is real dialogue. Thanks for listening, and good words to you all.